Hello. Hello, my name is Kyle, and wow, this is already starting off really badly. So, happy National Coming Out Day, and I just wanted to say coming out is a very big life changing deal for most people. I couldn't imagine in any case where it wouldn't. I mean, maybe I do. I don't know. I have a really hard time speaking candidly like this, so just bear with me. I initially wasn't going to do one of these videos where I talked about my coming out story, but I've seen several today, and it has really inspired me. And knowing that some of these people's stories are very similar to the way I felt makes me want to do this for you all, because you might not have seen the ones that I've seen, or you might not have seen any. So if you are struggling with your feelings, or if you are still in the closet and you are living in a situation where you are wanting to come out or are afraid to come out, or for whatever reason you are still in the closet, if I can in any way shed any sort of light or give you any sort of hope, I, I almost would just feel honored to tell you my story to help you out in any way. Uh, my coming out experiences actually happened really late in my life, although I'm still pretty young. Sorry, I meant like relatively recently is when I actually came out. My coming out day for everyone was March 26th of 2013, and I'll actually get to that a little later on. My Most of my entire childhood I spent absolutely in the closet. I had no intentions of ever coming out. I didn't even really even accept the fact or acknowledge the fact that I could be gay. All of high school, all of middle school, and even honestly most of college, I put it out of my mind. It was denial. I always had these very conflicting feelings in my head, because I grew up in a very small southern conservative town where you are absolutely expected to be one way, and when you do not feel like you fit that mold, it's scary. And thinking that I would have to outwardly be that way for my friends and family who love me, it was a scary situation. So I chose to actually just be in the closet for my entire life. Like this was my thinking back then. And I had several girlfriends, but being with them helped solidify the fact that I didn't even think I wanted to be with girls either. Like I knew I definitely did not want to be with a boy, but you know, several times being with a girl, there's no sexual attraction. There is, like, I can recognize that you are a pretty girl, and I want to hang around you because I enjoy your company. But there was absolutely no sexual or physical attraction, and it was really confusing to me, because this is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I felt I had to be and was taught to be. So that was in high school. And when I went to college, I just decided I'm going to get through college. I'm not going to date. I'm not going to even consider my feelings towards any sort of person. And if I find the right person, then that's so be it. I'll just wait for the right person to come along. And by person I mean like a woman. Like I will just wait for a woman to come along, and I'll be, I don't know. But the more I was away from my small town and the pressures of having to fit in because of, adults in church telling you, homosexuality is a sin, the more I was able to think for myself and realize that, hey, this is actually who I am. This is how I feel. And happened again. I want to back up a little bit. I feel like I'm just rambling on. Um, In 2000, oh, here we go. I'm just going to tell you a story. In 2009, this is the first time I'd ever been actually attracted to a boy and was contemplating my feelings as questioning myself. And I was hanging out with my whole big group of friends. They were all in architecture school, and I was with them, and I brought food for them, and I was the little cheerleader, and I was like, y'all can get through it, because they were like having to pull like all-nighters like every night, and I felt really bad for them. So I had all this food, and they were all full, and so I took the rest of the leftovers, and I just kind of went around and seen if anybody else wanted any. And there was this little group of people, and I sat down with them who were like in, I think, the grade below, and there was this really cute boy, really, really good looking, and I was like chatting up with them, feeding them. This is weird. I really wanted to talk with this boy more and to get to know him. So the way I had to do it without just blowing my cover, I asked for everybody's names and added everybody on Facebook. And after that point, I started messaging him, and I wanted to hang out, and we talked for a couple weeks, and we decided to get together. So I came over to his house one night, and we watched a movie, and I was so nervous. The whole time I was so nervous, and I was still at this point straight. So I was just hanging out. Again, it's hard to rationalize these thoughts because my thinking is irrational back then because my thinking then was not rational. It was conflicted. It was very conflicted. I wanted to be with this boy, but then again, I still wanted to be straight. So we actually on the low key dated for a month. I want to say a month, and this was over the summer. And so when school started back, all my roommates were moving back into the house, and I told him, I was like, I don't think I can do this, and at this point I had told him that I was gay, and he knew, I told him that I told him that I was bisexual. I had thought of it as the best way of still trying to hold on to the fact that I was straight. But anyway, towards the end of the summer, I told him this could not work, and I ended it with him, and I felt so bad, and to this day I still feel like that he was the one that got away. And then I went back into the closet for another couple of years, and when I graduated college, I knew that this was going to be the time that I wanted to come out. But it was still a scary process and a scary thought, and it was daunting. And I got on Tumblr because actually the boy who I dated for that month told me about Tumblr, and I got on there, and I met all of these people who were, at least on this website, openly gay, and talking with these people and they helped me sort through my feelings and allow myself to realize that it's okay to be gay, and this is my normal. Normal is not a clear-cut thing. There is no normal. There's only your normal. And this is something that I learned from my earlier days in Tumblr, and so I made it a point that I was going to come out right after my birthday. My birthday is March 24th, and so 2 days later, I wanted to do it in the biggest way I could think, so where everybody would know, and I wouldn't have to constantly be repeating myself and having to say the story, because it's scary and it's hard. So I told everybody on Facebook. I made this big, long message that probably should, hang on one second, let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, so I found it. And this is what I wrote on Facebook, and this is how I came out to everybody. Today I'm going to give you the courage to do at least one remarkable thing in your life. I want you to do something that takes more courage than you ever thought you could possibly muster. Something that you're too embarrassed or too scared to try. Something you've never thought you'd be able to do because something else was holding you back. Today I'm giving you the courage by telling you something that has taken me a lot of courage to say. I am gay. For the first time in my life, I do not feel ashamed, embarrassed, or afraid by this. A lot of you have given me the courage to reveal this by showing your support for same-sex marriage. So I am returning the favor. You do not get many chances like this, so take this courage and go out there and do something remarkable. So, after I wrote all of this, it was a little bit of time before I actually hit send, and I had the largest butterflies in my stomach that I can have ever had. I was frightened, I was scared, I was shaking, because this, if I hit send, this was going to change my life. And I kept thinking, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do this. And then I realized, I was like, no, I've got to do this. So without really any hesitation, I just hit the button. And then I just slammed my laptop closed. And I sat there and like all the blood rushed from my face. And I was scared and I was like on the verge of tears, and immediately just ran and jumped into the shower. And I kid you not, I was in the shower for probably an hour. And the whole time I felt like I was going to tip over, because like I was about to I felt like I was going to pass out, and I was like having moderate anxiety, and it was a scary feeling. I didn't really feel regret, but I felt like uh-oh. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm still explaining this. I feel like I'm getting tired. But after I got out of the shower, I sat there with my roommates and watched TV, and I could not open my laptop and see if anybody had noticed or even read the story or my little message. And like another hour went by, and I grabbed my laptop, I opened it up, and literally to my surprise, there were over 100 people who had liked and commented on the story, on my message, and every single one of them, the comments were positive, and they were encouraging, and they were supportive, and I immediately started crying, and like I was so overcome with emotion that people were so accepting of something that I was terribly, terribly frightened of my entire life. Something that caused such insecurity. And to realize that these people didn't care. They did not care that if I were straight or if I were gay. They loved me for me. And actually, one of the most touching things that happened after I came out within like the first couple days was a guy I worked with came up to me, and he says, "Hey, I read your story on Facebook, and I just wanted to say that, congratulations, and I'm happy for you, but I wish I had the courage to do what you just did, because I'm also gay." And this guy had absolutely no clue about, and I don't make it a habit to try to point out, you're gay and you're not, and whatever, but so we actually became really close after that, and I was really happy for him that he actually did come out later, a little later on. Um, if you can get anything from my video, from me coming out, it's to do it to come out when you are ready. In my case, it was at 25 years old, but you can come out sooner, you can come out later, you don't ever have to come out. I would recommend coming out, otherwise it, it's very unfulfilling if you do not feel like you are living up to be yourself. But there are a lot of situations where you might not be physically safe to come out. And if you're thinking about coming out today or tomorrow, absolute good luck to you. And you have my absolute full support. If it doesn't go how you plan, please, and you don't feel like you have anybody to talk to, you can talk to me. I want you to message me and let me know, and I'll be there for you, okay? I love you. Love you all.